Okay, everybody. So on today's podcast, you know that we're always looking for the newest, freshest, coolest, and everything we do here goes back to the old days, right? So some of you guys have noticed a huge Chevy show in Phoenix area, and it's over the past. I mean, it's 16 years going, and it's been growing leaps and bounds every year. Well, little did you know that Dino Battilana, the guy that puts it on, is an OG cat. So on today's podcast, we're going to welcome Dino from Dinos Git Down on the podcast. Dino, welcome to the show.
Hey man, I'm stoked. First of all,
Yeah,
dig
you
it, man.
know,
So yeah, I'm an OG Volkswagen cat. I mean, from way back.
well, and what I love about it is, I was noticing because I always think, now you grew up in Phoenix,
Yep.
so all of us desert rats, which I refer to, like we all look at Southern California as like the mecca of all the place the cool stuff, car stuff happens, and us VW guys back in the day were like, it's the coolest thing we get to like some surf mobile in the middle of the desert to have was like an old school VW. And so, I think it's so cool that you're OG VW cat from the way back. And the way we always start the podcast is, what's your VW story and how did you get into Volkswagens?
So and I'm 64, right? So back in the day, the Volkswagen was the evolution from the go-kart. So I had go-karts and did all that, and I was lucky enough that I got a sandrail. I was probably about 13. And I remember my dad got this thing, and I was really into it. And back in the day, it was such an easy car to build. So we pulled the motor out of that car and stuck it in your backyard. And I remember we had an old water bed. I don't even remember why I remember this, but we had an old big water bed for no reason, and we covered that engine with the water bed, like this big plastic water bed, and it sat out there for like 3 years, and it was full
Right.
of station and all this other business. So I was building this car, I was building my Volkswagen, my sandrail. It was time to put the motor in it, man. I just uncovered that bad boy, and it was locked up. And yeah, that's it right there, man. That was it's crazy that's great. I was pretty skinny then, but that car right there, I built that all in my backyard, and it had a bunch of different evolution. I drove it all the way through high school, and I took Terry, my wife. That was the first place I ever took her on a date, was in that car. Her dad was cool. She was 15, and her dad was, he trusted me. I was a car dude, and he's a car dude. So that was the first car that Terry ever got to go on a date on. It was pretty crazy.
Well, the rad thing about it, I dig this shirt, right? It's got the bubble letters on it. It says Battilana, the lean machine, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
And dude, everything I had to be green and white, man. That was back in the day, man. Like when you went down to the mall and you had a transfer and you got to pick out all, they had the old dude, the transfer press and all that stuff. So it's really super OG. And I remember going to Southern California as a youngster, dude, going over there, and everybody had cars that were slammed on the ground. And I was just so affected by that. Mini trucks had not come in really back then. That was the early 70s, that mini trucks just weren't, in there.
Now the cool thing is, Squeege out there, right?
Oh, sure.
So
Oh, yeah.
Squeege, he's an OG VW cat from way back, and so he's, he grew up like somewhere in Ohio or something like that. Come out and visit his dad in the summertime. They build Volkswagens, but it's like all the Volkswagens and people that don't grow up in the desert, right? Anywhere you see one Volkswagen in a house in the desert, there's another one because they always had a backup Volkswagen for parts or whatever the case is. And so it's funny because I got into them because we didn't have money is what I could afford. You know what I mean? And a lot of us guys, I think that buying the VW just helps you become more mechanically inclined, and you get a little bit of courage to do some mechanical stuff on your own and all this stuff. And it's just this evolution that just continues to spring forward. So you had the lean machine, right? And so what was that, a 1600, or was that a bigger motor there?
Man, when I first got it, it was a 16, and then I learned how to pull the jugs off, and a lot of mistakes, but Volkswagens are super forgiving, right? So as a youngster guy, it was easy just to keep. At that time, we had Station One. I'll tell you one thing, too. Squeege actually painted a friend of mine's Volkswagen, Don Laurent, his daughter's car, and I remember that. She had a 70, which at the time was crazy. So yeah, Squeege goes back. I remember that dude when he, like at that time when he was painting regular cars too, right? But he still was, an amazing guy. But everybody, especially the C10 guys, they all dig Volkswagens. That transfers over really well. But to go back to what you're talking about, the Volkswagen was still one of those things that's super sick. Like you could work on the car by yourself. You could pull the floor pan off. I remember there was lots of times where we changed bodies on cars over the weekend. And a friend of mine, Steve Handy, had a bug and he rolled it at school. And we went home that weekend and switched the body off to another car. And it was just, man, they were super. And like you said, one guy had one car and they had a bunch.
Yeah, it's really definitely a platform that, and it's a lot like the basic Chevy trucks, right? It's something that you can start with and just keep tinkering and tinkering and tinkering, and the evolution just goes beyond that. Now, you had the lean machine. Did you have any street bug stuff after that? Were you?
Yeah.
What was your history with all that?
So Jan Blair was my neighbor. You remember Blair and Sons?
I do. I own the pink notchback that was in his garage.
Yeah, dude. So Jan was an OG cat. As I got a little older and I was about 23, was my neighbor. So one day he told me his neighbor needed some work on some cutting down some oleanders, and I was like, yeah, man, he'd pay me. He said, hey, there's an old Volkswagen back in there and you could have that if you cut the oleanders out and you could drag it home. And I was like, cool. So I spent some time back there and, like a whole day cutting these terrible oleanders out of the way. And it was cool. It was a 67 full rag top car. And I remember I was pretty boned up about it because it was just a really super nice OG car. And then as I got to looking, in front of that was a 59 Combi. And the guy goes, you can have both cars. And so
wow.
So, I mean, that's how easy it was to score bugs back in the day. But one of the cars that I have, I had a 69, of all things, a 69 auto stick.
Yeah.
And it was owned by my ex-wife at the time, which was my wife at the time. And I restored that car and just in my driveway, and Jan would come over all the time. And I have to show you a picture of it. And we ended up in my class, the 69 class, which was only like 6 cars, we won the Bug-O-Rama in my class. And that was like a huge, big deal for me to win. And especially with an auto stick. I mean, I did the upholstery at my house myself, and at that time you kind of did, it had Super Beetle wheels, which back in the day you could get an offset wider wheel. They came all wide with that McPherson's truck car. But anyway, so I had a wide in the back and a narrow on the front. I wanted alloys really bad, but at the time they were such a commodity, and I finally ended up getting alloys. It took me about a year and a half to get alloys, and I hand sanded those things all the way through the anodizing. I didn't, when I was a young kid,
big money
on it. And a guy named Don Laurent showed me how to do it. This old boy, Don Laurent, which was a huge Volkswagen guy at the time, just like Jan. So our bug scene was really big out here for a minute. I mean, Scott was out, Station One was here. We had Gene Cosmano. Those are all guys you probably remember back in the day.
Yeah.
And,
also, who else moved out there? One of the Lowry, was it Dean Lowry moved out there, or was it? There's a couple of the guys.
Well, not Dan Lawson. He was a little bit earlier, but the guy that was the real big guy, and he came over and bought 6 or 7 of my cars. And I'll have to think a little bit about it, but he was one of the premier builders. He was over on McDowell. He moved over to McDowell, and he was the guy that had the sandbox in his backyard that was convertible, and he made a sandbox out of it. And oh my gosh!
And he used to do it was a restoration shop down there because there was competition engineering. Yeah, competition engineering was down there with Dan Lawson and Fisher.
Those are all guys a little bit after me, but this guy was, and man, I talk about him all the time, but at that time he would, like in Hot V-Dubs, and he
You're talking
just
about Dick Christensen, the vintage restoration guy, because he
I'm
was.
not sure either. This guy was, and man, I'm just so close right now that I can remember his name, and then now it's going to bug the crap out of me because I can't remember. But he was an older dude, and he had like a mansion downtown off of Third Avenue, and and he had a really big shop, which is still, believe it or not, still on McDowell. Like I want to say like 32nd Street South, but he had graduated to a bigger building, and at that time, but another thing that was crazy is I grew up in Central Phoenix and Morganson Motors was at the end of my block.
Yeah.
So it was like probably maybe 12. And I'd take my go-kart and run it down there and I would see all these old, there was plenty of cars in the 60s out there, but that's where Morganson Motors, which then turned into a bigger Volkswagen shop. But I just fell in love then. I mean, you could go there and see there was only 3 bays and it'd probably only be like 20 cars on there, but Volkswagens has just been huge for me my whole life. It's crazy.
Now let's talk about the recent car that you just finished, right? So that car you just finished is that a 59 convertible?
It's a 60. It's really truly that car. I got this from a guy named Marco. This is the 3rd time I've attempted to build this car. And Terry thought I was absolutely nuts when I got it. So I got this from a friend of mine, Marco, and basically what it was, like a lot of Volkswagens, I had a floor pan with a title, and then I had a body without a title. So then we got them both together, and then I met a guy named Levi, and everybody knows Levi, Pandragger, which is
Pandraggers, yeah.
a youngster guy. I call him a youngster, but the true prodigy. I mean, honestly, the cat is as a young guy, he's just, I mean, he blows me away. Like, I love it when people beat my expectations on things that they do. And I basically wanted to just build this car. And we started off with this super nice pan. Well, it wasn't super nice. Levi took the pan and made it super bitchin'. And then he put his narrowed beam on there and I dug it. And then, of course, you disc brake it, freeway flyer, all the stuff that's kind of cool, the adjustable spring plates and all that other junk in the back. And the pan came out so perfect that I was like, okay, let's just step the body up just a little bit more. So a friend of mine, Brad, Levi is of course a busy dude. So a friend of mine, Brad, I made a cart for it, and Brad cut all of the support underneath the bottom, which is typical for those hard to rat out. So I got that. I got the OEM pieces from Auto House, and he stitched all that back in and fixed a whole bunch of the metal. The car was literally a bucket. I mean, you could see it was rough. So then I got it over to Levi, and then we sandblasted it, and then he knew what he had to do. And I was like, let's just put it in satin. And it wasn't that I'm all about satin. It just was, I just was like, I didn't want to put that big a budget in the car. And then, man,
That's how they all start, right?
yeah, Levi, that's little mother. He made that body so slick. I was like, we gotta lay paint on it. So he was like, let's do it, man. So honestly, it's been a real pleasure to have him work on my car, and he's cool about every bit of what I wanted to do. He saw the vision. I want a roof on the car. I have a roof on the car. I didn't lean the windows back yet. I closed the windows. So I think, my car would be like an outlaw car, right? So it's all German as far as the fenders and everything goes, but all those accessories and everything, like Volkswagen guys are pretty big on the accessories. They're kind of like components.
Right.
They love that. And listen, I dig every bit of that, but it just wasn't what I was looking to try to do. I really wanted a car that Terry had a convertible early car, and I just kind of wanted to build her a cool little car that she could zip around, I could zip around. And then of course, Levi, I had him move back the pans, the floor pan brackets so I could get the seat back a little further, this and that. And then I wanted to close in the windows, and then actually Brad closed the windows in, and then Levi went ham and just did a beautiful job on the body, making it slick. Because like I said, I mean, he really worked on it. D-Bomb did my interior, which is a Chevy truck guy. And I wanted it to look. I didn't want it to look like a Chevy truck, and I didn't want it to look like a Volkswagen. So those are MP seats, which are cool. I was going to have TMI get on board. They just, unfortunately, timing didn't work out on this one. But like you could see, I put the bat wing in there, and we did some other stuff. You know, I have the 55 oval window trim on it. It has what is it? A Ford tab. It has the
Yeah,
correct,
4-tab hood. Yeah.
and then you could see I deleted the gas gauge because it was like the car was a 62. And then we have a dude out here named Eric, and you probably know Eric, the electrician, that he had that early Vert with the semi
Uh-huh.
on it. And so he knew how he had some connection to build me a brand new VIN number plate and the stamp and die and everything. So the car's all legit as far as like all I had to do was delete, of course, the gas gauge, which is like no big deal. And then the
Right.
rest of the car, I even put a sedan deck lid on the back, and it wasn't because I was cheap. I just really liked the cleanness of that part. And then we took the package tray in the back and opened that up because there's no roof on it. And the air just flows right underneath there, and it really cools the car super cool. You know what I mean? Like all that. And so the car actually works really, really nice.
Yeah, so you've had no issues. I mean, especially in the desert. So what's the drivetrain? Because you've got obviously Pandraggers did all the suspension on it, right? So Levi dialed in all the suspension, the beam, all that stuff, and it's on air in the front or air all the way around.
It's air all the way around. So this cool is I got the Pandragger with slam bag in the front, which is honestly that really works good. And I like the line bug stuff. And Seth over at Switch bought all the line bug stuff, and I was getting ready to do all that, but the delay was tremendous. So I was like, eh. So and of course, once I got a chance to catch up with Levi and the way the beam was, so the front beam slam bag, I have a square tank, which Slam Specialties, I was lucky enough to get like the first bag that Seth and them got together on this, and now they're making the valve inside the bag. I mean, inside the tank, like an Indo tank, like So
Right.
it's super quiet. So I have a super quiet air compressor, so you can't even hear it run. Just
Oh,
one,
nice.
and then the back I use C4 Corvette. Sounds weird. I use C4 Corvette air shocks. So because
Really?
I only need a little bit. It's got a 1700, and I wanted a single dual. I've had lots of 2-liter motors. I've had a lot of different cars but I didn't really want that. I'm not good on those carburetors, and some of the cars, some of my cars sit for a long time. So every time I had to fool with the carburetors, make it run good, and then, out here it's hot. So if you don't drive your car in the summer, it's all this crap dies, even if you put stable in it. But so I wanted a single Solex. I wanted it's got an alternator and all this other stuff. The motor was built by one of Levi's friends. No, yeah, Levi's friend. And it's a perfect dual port 1700 nothing motor,
Hmm.
and it scoots. And then I can't remember the dude's name that I got, but I got a really nice exhaust on it that has that Flowmaster, and it kind of comes back around and
Oh, A1 an A1.
yeah, like an A1. Yeah, I'm still a little bit new
Right.
to the game on some of that
Yeah,
junk, but
yeah, no worries.
the car sounds super tasty, and it works slick. And then I have Cage's 66. I got his arms that push that because I hated the way the front wheel plunged in the front of those when you get them too.
Right.
So he got me dialed in, and that really straightened up the caster and camber. I mean, honestly, I would definitely. The dude was great to work with. His stuff is super slick, so I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, Cage's been on the podcast. He's a sharp cat, man. He does some really cool lengthened front trailing arms. So that way, when you have that, when it rotates all the way to the front, the wheel's still in the center of
Yeah,
the
he's
hump.
the
So
geometry because it was quite challenging. Like I said, back in the day, man, when we lowered cars, this is before selector drop and all this stuff. We would actually just cut the torsion bars. We'd stack them, like they are.
right, right.
And we cut them all the way through till there was only one in the middle. And then we'd put the arms back on and drop it, and it would just snap it all. And then, of course, you could drag a flattened beer can on the ground. I've had quite a few cars. I've had a lot of buses, and I've had 3 convertibles, and I've had 4 convertibles, and I've had a couple of 55 oval window cars. I even had a cool car that was like a cranks to start out of El Paso, where you had the crank for it and all that junk. But
Oh, really?
yeah, I've had at one time, I could fill my backyard up with Volkswagens way easier than I could with with trucks.
Yeah.
Like they're so much easier to push around. Ask my wife, man.
Yeah, that's one big difference is pushing the
Yeah,
cars around. So now you got so it's got 1,700. It's so this you built for like just something to have different, get back a little VW love in your life, and then just cruise this thing around, no stress. I really dig the way that you take some of your hobbies and you put you got a little taste of the Chevy in there with the pattern on the seats, with that 60s pattern on the seat insets and
true.
but you still keep it VW, but you still do something of your own, like seal up the windows and make it more of a Phaeton type
Mhm.
build, which I think is super cool, man. Because the thing is, a lot of people in the hobby kind of get it, they get in this rut where they're building like a car that is of this style. And back in the 80s and whatnot, when they were building bugs, it was like just build your car to represent you and what you're into. And it happened to coincide with like the fashion and stuff of the day with the neon colors and all that stuff. But it was all about making it individual. And then we've gotten so because they've gone up in value, everybody gets to the point where it's like, hey, don't change it so you can't put it back to stock. But the reality is they made millions of these things, man. And there's tons for other people to do how they want. But I dig the way like you seal up the windows. I think that's too cool. The regular deck lid. I like the fact that you're doing stuff and you're not scared to do your own thing with it. You know what I mean? And that's really that's the core of the VW hobby versus where everybody else like recently everybody's just kind of come to like just always preserve it, so you can't people get so touchy about when you modify them.
Well, I would tell you that if you've ever seen my trucks, I do what I want. I truly
Yeah.
I build everything for myself, and then I've been lucky that people kind of dig some of the stuff. So at the same time, like it comes up in my head, and I'm building a dually right now, and I've built quite a few dualies, but every one of them I do a little bit something different or whatever. But the Volkswagen stuff, like I said when we were talking off the air, I'm looking for. I want a low light Gia. I hope I
Hmm.
can fit in it. I don't know. We'll see. But I found one, and I'm kind of working a deal on it right now, and I really enjoyed. It was so Bill. It was so crazy. Like I had so much Volkswagen stuff for so long.
Yeah.
As bad as I had C10 stuff, I had so much stuff, and every time I take a car apart, I would meticulously like. One of these days when you're in town, you got to come by the shop, and you'll see that I'm a little OCD on some shit. And like I have all the bolts and I have it separated with SC10s and all that stuff. And I like putting on the right bolts and this and that and all that hardware. I love every bit of it. Well, I had all that stuff for Volkswagens forever. And man, and then when I stopped doing Volkswagen stuff and the C10 stuff took over so hard, man, I had a friend come over and I unloaded everything. And so when I started building this car, I didn't have one metric bolt. I was like, I was trying to put stuff together just to hang on there, like, oh, let me hang these fenders. I had to go
Right.
out. I had to get Frontier to come by and restock me like a whole bin full of metric parts or bolts because I had none. It was just none. But it
Yeah.
was fun. I really, really, I love when you could sit back and look at the car you built and just really dig it. Like when Terry takes it around the block, I probably smiled for like a week. It was cool just to see her. Um, enjoy the car, fit in the car. And Terry, she's a beast. She'll drive everything I have to the Pro Street truck. She's driven everything I got.
That's too
Uh,
cool.
and I dig that she really was like, all right, this is that. And the black car really is something nice. I mean, it's really something nice.
Yeah, it's definitely, it turned out super clean, and I think it's definitely something that's
Yeah,
got your stamp on it.
dude,
Yeah, I mean,
man, you got a grip on this. That's look at her, man. Look how cool she is. And dude, like I said, she's not afraid of the air ride part of it or any of that kind of junk. So like for me, like it's cool to have a partner that just digs every and the other last weekend, man, we were moving cars around our pad and she was out there and I was showing her, let's just take this truck, we'll push this truck in the shop and all this other junk. And like it's fun, man. I mean, that part of it's uh I'm excited. There's a big Volkswagen show coming up, the Dub show
yeah,
coming, and
yeah,
I'm excited
February.
to Las Vegas. I'd like to go out and experience some more of this stuff. I really, and it's funny because I'm Mr. Chevy only, which I am and all that. But like I tell everybody, I said, listen, man, everybody
Yeah,
loves Volkswagens. I don't care who you are,
yeah.
and so you know, like in the Porsche Alloy, is the wheel like um
It's as much VW as it is Porsche anymore. You know what I mean? Like depending on what generation you're from, when you see that wheel, you either think early VW lowered on that thing or early 911. But most of us can only afford early VWs, right? When we were young, and so
yeah,
that's what you think, you know. So I think it's I I really I really love what you've done with the car. I love the uniqueness and all that stuff, like I said, and I'm excited to see, because too many people want to pigeonhole you. Say, "Oh man, you're Mr. Chevy only. What are you doing with this freaking Kraut car? Whatever." You know what I mean? But it's like all of us start somewhere. And I found, doing the podcast, I've had Steve Strope with Pure Vision on the podcast because
yeah,
he started with a Volkswagen back east, right? Like he used to. So, and anybody that I find that has an early VW story, I track them down to get them on the podcast to just kind of show the universal love for these cars, and really it sets off so many people with respect to giving them the courage to work on something and be able to take it apart, put it back together. And like you were saying, over the weekend we'd pull a body off a pan and swap the car, do all the stuff, and that's
yeah,
so commonplace in the VW hobby. And when you do it on that scale, you start to get this concept of like nothing's impossible. Let's do it. You know what I mean? And so I think it's great. It's great platform for young people to start on and get going. And they're still honestly, they're still affordable. You can still find a Volkswagen somewhere for a
yeah.
couple $100
You
and
just
get started.
I would tell you one thing: if there was ever a shirt you would make that's represented a Volkswagen, it would be like a Volkswagen will always get you home. And
Yeah.
dude, I don't care if you have a hole out and you only got 3 cylinders. And I drove back from California one time with 26 cans of oil to get it home. And that's a true story, man. Going up Indio, that thing was puking all over and overheating, and it was the auto stick car, you know what I mean? So I just and I've sat on the back of my sand rail, and because my throttle and there's my cat. I sat on the back of the throttle. I sat on the back of the engine tin, and my throttle cable broke. And a friend of mine drove the car while I gave it the gas, driving it home. But I mean, your clutch cable broke. You just drove it home, man. You just kind of pulled into a parking lot and made circles, or if you had to pull the throw bearing came off, you pulled the motor out somewhere, and it's just one of those cars that's like, honestly, it's probably one of the best cars for anybody that's getting into cars to build, because the aftermarket parts, don't get me wrong, are cool, but there's a lot of them that fit, they don't fit, whatever. And that's anything in
Right.
the aftermarket world, right? The
Well,
Volkswagen stuff is, I mean, but like you said, you could work on those things anywhere.
yeah, it's all about being resourceful, right? And nothing will test you like a Volkswagen. Or the coolest car you drive home will strip a drum or pop a clutch cable or whatever, and you're gonna have to figure out. It's like, how much do I love this thing that I've got to make it home? I still got to look cool. I mean, I was telling someone the other day. I said, if you can drive a Volkswagen in any scenario, you can drive any car, because first the shifters are usually all blown out and funky, and the
Mhm.
gear hunt goes to muscle memory. And then when that clutch cable breaks on you, someone told me, "Oh man, that my clutch cable broke. I'm stuck." I'm like, "You're not stuck. You got a good battery. You can get home." I said, "You just got to time the synchros and shift it."
I mean,
So
dude, like I said, those are all those stories are, I think I remember my master cylinder went out, and I had to drive to school, and I used, I had a 66,
mhm.
and I just used the emergency brake. I don't know, until I got paid for like a week, you know what I mean? One of those things that I had a super strong arm, and I was like, brah, but he just pulled up on it. But I mean, like I said, it's just such a cool car. And this car is fun. Like I took it to Good Guys. This is the first place I've took it. I haven't taken the car.
Yeah,
I was really hoping to just get it out for the Dub show, the AZ Dub Bug show, and Chris came over. He saw it, so I was pretty stoked that he kind of gave the big nod on the car for me too, which I thought was cool.
yeah,
And but I drove it to Good Guys, and it, I was surprised because I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I have some pretty cool stuff, and I'll
right.
pull. You get a lot of cool nods and all that kind of junk. Never did I ever think a Volkswagen would give it the big cool nod, especially from the Good Guy crowd dudes. You know what I mean? And I was thought
Yeah,
of whatever. But I mean, they were digging it, man. So I was like feeling pretty firm when I rolled in and I got out. And they were all talking me on that truck and on that car, and I was like, that's pretty cool, man. So Terry was like, wow, so.
I mean, it really, everyone's got a connection to these cars. So that's really what strikes a chord with so many people. Now, obviously, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, right? I got Mr. Chevy only on the podcast here, and I'm thinking, uh, so the first time I'll just give from my experience, Instagram surfing, doing all that stuff, and I'm pretty sure it was 2017. I shot down to Dino's appliance repair, because there was this thing called Dino's Git Down, and I saw the year previous, and I bought it, and I thought, because it's funny, it's the same in Volkswagens, right? You think you're a square back guy, but you're really a bug guy or a bus guy or whatever, but you think you're a certain guy. And I thought, from back in the day being a kid, I was like, dude, one day I'm gonna have a 2-wheel drive Blazer. So I traded a bug for a 2-wheel drive Blazer. Had this 1980 2-wheel drive Blazer. It had the typical when you started it up, because it had exhaust leaks and all that stuff. Cruising around the block, and I thought, man, this is a big steak to eat for this thing, but I dig it. So it's here. This is a project on a back burner. And then I'm on OfferUp. There's a step side with a straight 6 and a manual, like cherry original body. It was like an 80. And I thought, oh, you know what? That's $1,100. I'll get that. Wait, this Get Down's coming up. You know what? I'm going to shoot down there and maybe sell these things. And my wife was thinking I was going down to sell them for cash. Well, I did, but I turned right around and I said, well, I got a 50-foot hauler behind me and I can't bring it home empty. So I literally took it down to the Get Down. I was parked across the street, like across from the appliance store. There's a street off center to across it. And the truck was so long, and that 54-foot trailer, like I had to loop all the way around the corner to park it. And I was hoping to get some eyeballs and stuff on it, but I sold it to a guy as I was pulling into the Good Guy show the next morning. And I sold them both trucks for $6,500, something like this, just super cheap, right? And I was like, I'm all about passing on a deal. And then I hop right on Craigslist, and I found a 99 2-wheel drive Blazer that had wheels but needed to be lowered. It was $6,500 or $7,000. I called the guy, said, look, I got cash, I'll come bring it. So I buy this 99, and then I realized I thought I was a 1980 square body dually guy, but really I was a 99 leather interior AC kind of. I'm the OBS guy. You know what I mean? And so
much better truck,
Yeah, well, there are more creature comforts, and it's a lot higher starting point than starting with a like a C10 style or the early square bodies. So with you, kind of give me the summary, like how you get into being Dino Chevy only. When does that whole thing kick off, and the genesis of the Get Down?
Well, dude, like I'm Italian family culture, New York, that whole thing, Pittsburgh. So I'm like 12 or 13, and my dad's the typical Italian guy that he couldn't afford the Buick, so you got the Chevy. So you were all about the brand. Everybody had to show him, this is my Buick. And so we had an Impala, and it had a 396 in it. I tell this story, and it's really true. It's kind of crazy. My sister had some dude come over to her house. She was to pick her up, and his name was Jim Grizzle, and you'll never forget that dumb name. But there's some hillbilly from north, and he came over and he pulled his Falcon in our driveway. And I was like, hey, Kay, you can't park this Ford in our driveway. He's like, yeah, I'm just picking up your sister. I said, I don't care, man. I said, look, I showed him my dad's Impala. I said, 396, man. You got a 6 in this, man. And so I'm starching this guy a little bit, and he's giving me a little bit of heat about getting it out of the driveway. So I had a big old scary dad, man. And so I said, well, let me just get my pops real quick. He'll get you to move out of the driveway. I go, this is for Chevy only. And dude, honestly, that's exactly where it started. And, back in the day, from when I was growing up, you were a Ford guy or Chevy guy, and nobody cared about Dodge. I'm just playing.
Right.
Of course, Dodge made some bullets, that, and they had the Cudas and all that other crap. But you just drew your line. And when we cruised Central, they were Ford Chevy guys, and it was separated. And it was fun. All that stuff was fun. And, we knew that the Chevy guys were faster and cooler, whatever. But the evolution of that, and then it's crazy. I have a 1963 Chevy truck that I just bought from an original owner of another air conditioning company. They bought it new in 63. And it's the replica of the truck that I drove when I was 13 at the gas station, at Mobile gas station on Central and McDowell. And I love that truck. I drove that
Oh
truck.
yeah.
And so I'm going to build that truck. Not that I'm going to build a mobile truck, but I mean, it's the absolute replica of the truck, 3-speed on the column, all this other junk. So I'm actually got some stuff going on with the C10 Club. We're going to have some fun. There's some guys that are learning how to do some of this stuff, and not that I know everything about all that junk, but I'm willing to have people come over and smarter guys than me or whatever, and we're going to pull that thing apart, do some fun stuff with it, and I'm going to build that truck. I'm going to build a little get down truck. But it was funny because the 60 to 66 trucks at the time, they were, I don't know, man, nobody wanted those trucks. They went 67 to 72, which is like the 32 street rod. You know what I mean? Those, as many Chevy trucks as I've owned, I've only owned one of that year,
Is
and
that is this the one you're talking about?
that's my 64. That I just did that truck. I've done that truck about 3 times. I built that truck for Courtesy Chevrolet, and it was super fun. And they wanted a truck that we could bring the motor out in. And then Scott and those guys over at Courtesy, they kind of got the wires crossed. They gave me the green light. Then I found out that it wasn't a 55 because that's the year they started. So we're like,
Right.
hey, man, I'm sorry. So I kept the truck. I sold it. It's no big deal. But I like the 60 to 64s. It should be a picture of a white truck in there. Probably have to go down a little bit. Let's see. Or I'm sorry, maybe go up. I'm sorry. We'll go up a little bit.
It's a pretty recent post.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. There's a white one coming up. Let's see. And it's just a bucket. I mean, keep going. But it's just it's a 63, nothing plain truck. And it was funny because me and Terry pushed it the other day. And oh man, let's see. Boy, isn't that tough when you try to find the picture?
It always, we're posting so much stuff all the time that it's
Oh, that
definitely
extent.
something
I
that
love that
that
extent.
kind of,
Well,
yeah.
it's in the garage, my backyard, and so I'm building a dually right now, and man, I don't know the square body dualies, and I like the stacked headlights. So I got this dually from a friend of mine in a place called Cornville, Arizona, which is crazy. And
Cornville.
Cornville, and the cat was super cool. Matter of fact, I saw it on which is my crack addiction, which is Marketplace,
Oh
and
yeah.
I called him, and it was a Sunday, and I said, "Hey, I got cash, and I'll take if it's what you say it is. I'll give you another $500 to bring it here." And he said, "I'll do it." And I met another cool guy through the whole situation. And but anyway, so this truck, it's over at Switch, and he does almost a ton of my work now. That was the first truck I did. That was a 64 truck that I built, and that was the first one I put the Porterbuilt front suspension in. That was well, actually, that's not true. That was the second one, but I did a tech article. I didn't do a tech article on that, but that's the one that Porterbuilt. We really refined the whole thing. Later on, I
Right.
shared that with Kevin Grunion. We made a four-door out of it, but that was kind of the truck back then. That's kind of started off the whole patina thing. Like, not to say that I invented it, I didn't, but I had, I liked the OG paint stuff on there and cleaned it up and all that other junk. But that was a super fun truck. But
Now you've had a ton of the Chevys and obviously being in the Chevy scene, all that stuff. How do you start? How does the get down start? Because the get down, it seems like it started off as like a bunch of buddies that are just kind of doing their thing. And I think you wanted to do a show because you guys weren't allowed in the Good Guys, right? Is that what it
it
was or
kind of
what?
was like it was really basically a guy named Renee C10 King out of Northern California would have this event at his house. And we all got on this 67 to 72 truck website. And I would chronicle the builds that I would do all the time. Well, like I'm not very techy on some of the stuff. I like working on cars. Well, I got a lot of shine from it, and I got a lot of followers and all this other junk before I knew it. So Good Guys was our show in Arizona for the longest time. That was the biggest thing, even though they never cared one bit about C10 trucks at that time.
Right.
And so we would really work hard to get our trucks ready to go out to Good Guys. And at that time, it was only Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey, I told some guys online, I said, I'm going to have some food. And I had 8 or 9 trucks at the time. And I had just finished up a Suburban I was building. And I just kind of put it out there on the truck forum because this is before IG or anything like that whatsoever. Not even Facebook, right? So whatever that was, or MySpace or any of that crap. It was just like raw, whatever. And so I just invited some guys over to my house in my backyard, and we had about 30 guys show up. Justin from Scott's Hot Rod showed up, and he was on TV at the time, but he went to Good Guys, so he was like, like my Hollywood dude, but he's just a legit cat. Like he never acted, fancy, and that's where I met Dell from
Mm-hmm.
Del. We'd only talked on the internet, and then they came out. So the next morning, we got up and we rolled out to Good Guys in our trucks, like we were Christmas and we were 8 and we had Schwinn's or something.
Right.
We were mixing up on the freeway, driving like oh my God, it was so much fun. So we pulled into Good Guys, and of course, they were not happy to see a bunch of laid out, hey, how do you get over speed bumps? But I didn't care. I dug it because I got underneath their skin about something cool, and everybody was digging it. So that started the Get Down, and a guy named Sam Castronova, which is one of my friends that I met in the car stuff, trading cars back and forth. And we met through a Cadillac of all things. And he coined the name, the Get Down. And matter of fact, he was the first guy that even made the artwork for Brian Stepsky. So, and I remember I bought $400 worth of t-shirts. And I was like, wow, that's, at that time, my house payment was $400. I was like,
I hope I can sell these.
I was like, I just gave them away. Right. So, and then from there, the next year, I thought that was super fun. So we said, let's move it to the appliance shop. And we had a big dirt field across the street. And of course, we're Italian, so we're going to feed you. So we posted up. The next year, we got 600 people that showed up, and it got crazy. And then that's the evolution. And so this whole event, like, dude, I fix appliances, right? I'm a ham and egger. The truth is, all I've done with this event is cultivated to make a better experience every year. And so I've been lucky enough that Good Guys was never on Friday. So we had it on Friday, and that's kind of how it. And for me, I would tell you that I love the fact that car shows are on Friday, and we've always had it on Friday. And then of course, as it got bigger, we went to Saturday. But the truth was, it's so cool to go. You get to ditch school, kid gets to ditch, you get to ditch work, whatever. But it started off after work on Friday. We'd run the business, and then it got earlier and earlier, and then pretty soon we just closed on Friday and just did the event. And that's kind of where that whole thing. And then, it was funny. We met Square Bodies, C10 Vatos, all those guys that's when they all started off the apparel game and all that. And just, C10 Talk, Ronnie, the first podcast. Matter of fact, he kept asking me to be on a podcast. I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know what I was like, iPod? I don't understand it. What? He goes, no, we just sit on here and we talk. And the very first time we came over to the shop, and of course I can talk my ass off. We talked for 3 hours, and he forgot to turn the mic on. And we were like, oh, man. We chopped it up, and it was a good old time, right? So he called me, and he got home, and he was all humble and shit. And he said, we got to do it again. I said, well, come back tomorrow night. And we did it again. We talked for another 3 hours, man. It was cool. So it's how.
Yeah, I mean the whole point, and one of the reasons I started a podcast, was when, I've been I think I'm on this would be episode 346, right? So I've been at it for a while, and 70%, 80% of the people that you've mentioned have been on this podcast. And, from Levi and Chase or Cage 66, all these guys have been on the podcast. And so it's one of these things where
300. That's crazy.
They come out every week, man.
I'm super humbled by it. I apologize we didn't do this sooner. It's just that I always got a tiger by the tail, right? So like I'm
absolutely
juggling
I get it
all the time. So
well, so it's one of those deals where it becomes something that, and that's why I got into podcasts, because I started listening about stuff that I like to hear. It's like talk radio without commercials, and then I can kind of, if I'm into this, I can find one about this subject, that subject, and then just tracking down Volkswagen history and stories has just been the greatest thing for me because it creates so many threads between the hobby, between like, you know, and for you to be able to sit here and just chat with me for, for an hour or whatever, and then it turns into like people feel like they get to know you a little bit, and it makes the scene feel that much tighter and that much smaller. You know what I mean? Yeah. Here's a picture of the first Get Down I went to was 2016. Look, here's a picture of me loaded
Oh
for
yeah, dude. Look at
I'm
that step.
loaded for
Killed to have that step side right now, dude. Oh
I
my
s-
god.
I sold both. Look, I sold both these. That step side was like a cherry 1980 straight six, and
Oh
the guy I sold it to, he definitely had a few shekels because he was up in he has. I mean that trailer's 54 foot, right? So I drug that thing up to his house, and he bought the Chevy truck, and he said his dad worked at that Chevy dealer where it was sold, and I swapped him both those trucks. So yeah, I take it back. The first Get Down I went to was 2016, and so that's, I mean, shoot, that's 10 years ago,
yeah,
right?
even that
It's
black blazer was, what's crazy is that's a super rare color. I mean, that just is that a GMC too, or no, it is a Chevy. And
let me
it's
see.
yeah,
Yeah, Chevy.
it's just a super unique color too, man. Like I said, I'm a huge stepside fan, but I dig exactly what you just said. You know what? The funny thing about the culture is the lowrider culture, all those guys, I dig every bit of that. Like I even like it when I'll go, like stuff that I'm not really into, but I can appreciate like some of these vintage cars these old boys build. And yeah, maybe I'm not, like whatever. That's Ronnie's, yeah, right in front of the pad. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
these were,
Rudy's. Oh my gosh, I could remind that was a stunner. That's the truck that got stolen. That truck
bro.
was
That truck is, if I were to get a truck, that's the truck I
it's
want.
for sale right now. After they got it and they torched it, that dude fixed it. First of all,
Now that was Cannonball C10. That one was called, right? Cannonball C10. Is that what the
yeah,
name of this truck was?
yeah, dude. Yeah, you pulled that one out. I was trying to try to remember, and it's crazy because like we all know each other, but I couldn't remember anybody's name, but I knew their truck, right? So I was like, oh yeah, dude, or like all this stuff. That was, the essence of the Get Down there. People say, man, I loved it when it was there. And the truth is, like, the reason why the event that we do continues on, and this is the straight nuts and bolts, it's because the people that come to it, not because of me or one of that kind of junk,
Right.
they're so respectful of the event. Not a Dino thing, don't get me wrong. They're just so respectful. You look at the end of the event, and people have picked up all their trash, and they're very considerate, and there's kids, and everybody's having a great time. So we hear that. The biggest thing we hear about the Get Down, it was so much fun. It's been a long time since we had that much fun in a car show. We're like, hey, bring your dog, do this, do this. We don't do trophies and all that kind of stuff. And there's nothing
Right.
wrong. It's just that I just had a different grip on what I wanted, even and listen, I dig that people love to go and get trophies and do all that stuff. It's just not just not for me. You know what I mean? Like I get it,
Yeah. It's not
but
about the trophies. It's more about the people, right? The people, the get together, and that's with the event we do here in Vegas. We modeled it after when my brother and I, we would go down to Southern California, the VW Classic, and there was a
oh
host
yeah,
hotel. So we would all, guys from Arizona show up over there. You get guys from Sacramento, guys from New Mexico, whatever. They would all converge at this hotel, and then it was like that was base camp, and we would kick it there, and then go do open houses one day, go check out the bus meet in the morning, go do the original Cars and Coffee, and so what we realized, like by the time the show showed up, it was like you wander through the show, look for some parts you might be looking for, and you bail out like 1 o'clock, right? It's like because it's Sunday, you want to head home, you got to drive home,
yeah,
so you're not staying till 4, and so that was kind of that
yeah.
was the
Driving to
genesis.
California is no fun. Oh, that guy's name was Tim Ransom.
Yeah.
Tim
Uh
Ransom.
huh.
You remember
That was
that dude?
the guy that had the VW shop.
Yeah, man, Tim Ransom. He came
Yeah.
over one time and bought six of my cars. I remember I was like the best groceries I ever bought for a while, dude. I was like, I had some chips. I was like, look at all this money. But Tim Ransom, that was the dude back in the day that was the gangster building cars, and he built some really, really cool California bugs and that kind of stuff. But to go to the other point, the truth is, I think the Volkswagen community and the truck community are similar in a lot of ways, even though like the square body guys are square body guys, and the bus guys are bus guys, and the bus guys kind of this and that. The C10 guys, the square body guys. But the truth is, everybody just digs them. So they dig everything that has to do with this. And like even the Ford guys, they're getting where those bump sides and those early Ford trucks. Hey, I'm not hating on those trucks. These guys are building, Fat Fender. These guys are building some trucks that are just ridiculous. They're beautiful. So I mean, I love that we're pushing. I would say that it's going to sound a little boastful, but I would say that Barrett Jackson has got a great benefit from the Get Down, because this has been the mecca here for trucks. And now you see Barrett Jackson, guys like Hoagie Shine putting trucks through at 550, 700,000, and the quality's going up. Before you'd see Barracuda, all that other stuff, and all these supercars, whatever. But the truck market's a monster right now, and it's still been going strong for quite a while. Like, so
Yeah, I think there's been just like the Volkswagen hobby, there's been um, so many evolutions in this hobby, especially with the trucks, right? They started out as kind of the backyard patina builds, and then you get like, what was that truck, Pandemic, the one that was built during COVID, which
oh
was
yeah,
just like probably the guy had probably 300 grand in the thing or something crazy like that, with the one-off custom wheels and all that. And it's just
hey,
like
the dude
you've
from Lakeside that's going to be on our shirt this year. They got even Hot Rod by Dean built $1 million square body. I mean, like, it's crazy. And like, there's a hat for every head, right? So,
yeah.
like I said, there's always those cats that got Chips Ahoy, right? So, however that works. But at the same time, like, I like the fact that our event, not to toot our horn again, is there's guys I love to motivate. When I hear guys like, I wanted to get my truck so bad to the event, and and he's got a family and stuff, and so it's a 60 truck, and it's on straight wheels and all this other stuff, but it was his OG and his dream, and all that kind of stuff. And I was that same dude, with that stuff like that, where I just wanted to get it to good guys, right? And then as I just wanted to show up and drive my ride through there. That's why we have the cruise lane, because I love that, where people are so proud of
Yeah,
what they built, right?
that's super cool. I mean, the evolution of this show has gone from being in the back of your appliance shop into like a bunch of friends just showing up like pre-show, and then it bleeds into the lot next door because now there's too many people. Then it completely like it bleeds in the lot, it blocks the street, it just goes insane, and then you move it to what was
Big
that
Sur.
mall?
I went to
But what,
Big
yeah,
Sur.
Big Sur for 1 year, right?
Yeah, we booked that crazy. We just overfilled it, and then we went to Westgate, which
Westgate.
I
That was
remember
the
the first
second one I went
time
to.
we got 2,000 spaces. We were like, oh, dude, what are we gonna do with this, right? So,
Right.
and then as we started getting vendors interested in it, and even the value, like a vendor space for a semi is like $3,500 or something like that. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
where some of these shows they're 50 grand, or SEMA they're 100 grand. Now, I'm not saying we're SEMA, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but
Right.
my job is to pack that place full of people, and vendors do well. And then we do something a little bit spicy that I dig. This is I make like a grocery store, like, because when I go to look for stuff, I want to go find, I don't want to be hunting for it. So I put all the wheels in one aisle. Next to competitors, I put all the air ride in one aisle. I put all the chassis in one aisle. So when I'm going to look for stuff, you car show guys should try this, man. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, first, get your vendors and get them by what they're selling. And then that's why they put a gas station across street from a gas station or a grocery store. Look, man, it's bring your game. And our vendors at first were like, I don't know. And then they're like, hey, dude, like, hey, this works, because the consumer can find you. And then now they're going to compare your product to the next dude, and it works really, really well. I mean, we're going to have 287 vendors this year.
That's incredible. I mean, and the cool part is like the show's free to cruise into. Fridays the Get Down, Saturdays the Anything GM. Is that the way
Anything
it
GM,
works?
yeah, yeah.
I'm half tempted to bring my Buick Riviera down there, but
Do it, dude. You should.
I,
Hey man, I'll get you G'd up in a spot too. You know what's funny is because it's funny because I get people that are like, dude, you got to start charging. And the truth is, and I'm not trying to do this like to be like some fancy cat, but I haven't needed it. Like the venue is expensive, but the vendors pay for the venue,
right.
and that's why I have to have so many. And then plus they do really well, and everybody's having a good time. All of our vendors say the same, man, we had a great time. We did good, all this other junk. And then
Yeah.
I sell t-shirts and we sell, I don't know if you've ever seen our line, but nobody has to feel sorry for Dino and Terry. We sell a lot of t-shirts. We do
Yeah.
fine.
And
Like
you guys, the artwork on your shirt, who's the guy who does the artwork?
I did Rowan. I've been using Rowan, which is honestly has the same skin as me. That cat, I love dealing with guys that I do all the conceptual stuff, and then I can go, here, you throw your twist on it.
Right.
And I always like a cat on there because I'm a big cat guy. And I always like to have a cat. And as Brian retired, Rowan stepped in and bailed me out. And dude, I love his artwork and like the conceptual thoughts. Like last year, I wanted to do it where we put all the shirts together because we do collab shirts. It was, if you would have put it together in one big frame, it would have looked like a giant picture.
Yeah.
But I never did it that way. But I mean, I ended up doing, but I never took the picture anyways.
Well, now,
So this year, I'm already ready to go on it.
when you referenced Brian, was that Problem Child Customs?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
he was the guy from way back.
Well, I caught him from, with the first shirt I had his artwork on it. And then I ended up buying a calendar off his website and doing some other stuff. And then I reached out to him about doing a rendering for me for something, or not rendering, but like a show shirt or something like that. Because when you're putting on events, it's like, we all sell shirts at the event, but you really want a shirt that people really want to get, you know what I mean? And so it's, to find an artist, to somebody you can just say, hey, I'm looking at this, this, and this, and then they really kind of bring it alive. It's good if you can get in that relationship with somebody. And your new guy, the guy that's been doing it for the past couple of events, what's his name's Rowan?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's Rowan. And
Rowan.
Dude, honestly, probably the most legit cat. Love Brian. Like I said, he retired, slowed it down a little bit, all that kind of junk. So you pass the torch. And so he, you could see him on his website. He does semis. The guy, I don't know what spins out in his brain, but dude, I can call him. I get up at 4 and he's man, and I forgot, like he's out south, but he's up, man. And that dude will be up all night drawing and stuff like that. And so already, like I hit him up already because he's out quite a ways. But he'll always get you in, dude. He'll always get you in. And where his name is Josh, by the way, Josh Rowan. But
Josh Rowan. Okay. I'm searching. I'm just trying to see if I can track him down on Facebook.
Josh Rowan. Yeah, dude. And honestly, one of the most down to earth guys on the planet. We vibed right away. We just lurked on each other during Instagram and all this other stuff. And I would always say something about his artwork because I dig it. And so he was the first dude when Brian retired that I reached out to and I love there's a ton of different work that I love the artwork. Jimmy Smith's another guy. I used him once. And Jimmy Smith, I think they all have their style. And so like for me, like right now, what I'm doing with Josh is he just has my style. So I love the fact that I can give him something. This is what I want. I don't even have to tell him much more. And then he runs with it. Then he'll call me and we'll tweak a little bit. And a lot of artists, guys, get a little offended when you want them to tweak something. So we're cool, with that part of it. But if you say, I don't want to really, they're like, so they kind of put you in artwork timeout or whatever. So he doesn't play any games with you with that stuff. He's like, hey, I want you to be super happy and dig this stuff. And his dad, big Volkswagen dude, had that mid-engine bus with that Hemi in it. I don't know if you ever
Oh,
saw
that
it.
was his dad? Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. I've seen that.
yeah, dude, he's comes from a trilogy of hot rod, and of course he has that sub that has those twin turbos on it, and that
Yeah.
R twin sub, and he Pro Street cars, a Pro Street truck. But dude, the guy's legit. I know I've even seen that other guys are starting to use them in our industry, um, and which is cool. I mean, that's the reason why we post them is they want everybody to do well, right? So I don't want to go, don't
Yeah.
use him.
Well, I think there's too much, and when you come from a place of like, I want to do this because you're a guy that used to go to shows, like, and you wouldn't go to shows for trophies, but you go to shows to support, right? And then you go
Yeah,
there, and then you look at it sometimes, and that's kind of how I ended up with doing the shows we do. Like, I go to a show and I'm like, man, did they not think about the people that come here? Did they not think about, trying to make it something a little bit
yeah.
special? Sometimes you go to a show and it just feels like a cash grab. Like, we're just here to get your 40 bucks and
Hey,
deal
work.
with whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like when you start to build something where, and you've got to be really proud of what's taken off with the Get Down, because I mean, every year I watch stuff. I watch that guy. Shoot, what's his name? Yeah, Buddy Garage. He does
Oh yeah,
that
dude.
that cross country track to the Get Down, and it's just like,
I
and you just
have
think to
a
yourself
crazy
like,
story about him too, man. He rolled up, drove all the way. I followed him the whole way across the country. And he
yeah,
does a great job on his page, right? And he rolls in, and like one of my big grips is I love shaking hands or giving a pound to
oh
everybody
yeah,
that's seeing it. So I love that. That's like one of the things that is for me is something that's just I don't know. It's my own moment, right? And he rolled in, and I didn't even recognize him, man. I've had to apologize to him. He's like, Dana, and I'm like, hey, thank you. Like, and he,
yeah,
I call him, I go, dude, I'm so sorry. Like because he was like gonna film some stuff, but it was just the timing was crazy. But the dude is super solid. I dig his page. He does a great job with his page and with all that stuff. His YouTube page is a monster, and he's
yeah.
just down to earth cat with that too. So
Well, it comes down. There's a thing called show blur, right? Like during the show, the whole time
dude,
that
I'm
the show,
stealing that, dude. Hey, I'm gonna steal that, dude. That's good. I love
no,
that
no,
show.
because I get people. They're like, man, I talked to you at last one crazy weekend. I'm like, bro, I don't know how to tell you this. I'm so sorry that I don't
Gobler.
remember.
Dude, I'm not
Because
kidding you. I'm putting that one in the bank. I got
yeah,
that one. I'm gonna steal that one. I use a weird vernacular. I say some shit. I don't even remember what I say. I got such verbal diarrhea, but I'm stealing that one.
yeah.
I'll give
Well,
you props on that when I use it.
because so many people talk to you, and because you want, you go to these shows and you feel like, well, shoot, I gave this guy 40 bucks, so I could park under this tree, and there's oil stains everywhere, and there's no play, there's no shade, there's nothing. And it's like your focus is like, I want to make sure everybody comes, which is what the difference is. Like, you want to be able to make sure that you dab everybody up, shake a hand, make sure they know that you appreciate them coming there. And I think a lot of show promoters don't get it, right. And I don't want to put the brand on you of show promoter, but I have to, because now you've built this monster, right? But you didn't do it to be a show promoter. You did it to create a cool hang with some friends and just kind of and just make it a Get Down. Like, we're all just going to show up, hang out, have a good time, and it's grown into this monster. And it's just because it's genuine. That, I think that's the key. I think that's a secret to it, is because it
Appreciate
means something to you. You know what I mean? And you want people to know, just the fact that, because I was there. I think I did the first one at State Farm. I did 16. I don't know what year you went. The first year you did the Westgate, I was at that one, which might have been 18, because you did
yeah.
16, then 17 was at Big Sur, and then that was 18, and then I went again. I think it was um,
This will be our fourth year at state.
yeah, so it was the first year at State, so it was the first year that you did that, and my brother was so bummed out because he drove his 99 all the way down, and he was
Yeah.
like, got turned away at the gate. And he's like, "There's a cat eye right there." He's like, "What's going on over here? Why am I
And
getting
it's
the
funny
shit?"
because we let everything in, so it's hard. We let 20. Well, that's a different story. But the truth is, first of all, thank you. I'm humbled by that, because the truth is, we continue because it's a great vibe. The vibe
Yeah.
at the Get Down is something that you aspire to have. It's been cultivated because the truth is, I do care about people having a good time. Look, man, I have enough shine. I don't seek it. I don't. I really don't. You know, and it always makes me feel awkward when people want to take pictures with me instead of my beautiful wife. I'm like, dude, have you seen Terry? Why would you take?
Right.
I'm this big old weird looking Italian dude, man. So I mean, at the same time, the truth is the best word that I could use is we try to enhance the experience every year for everybody to have a good time, right? And like you said, the show blur, which I love that, is a true thing because you're caught up in those moments. Or like I told Terry, you know, like listen, to tell you the truth, there's sometimes it takes quite a bit of courage because you could overwhelm yourself with concern. And when you have that many people coming in, I always hate it when they do the drone shots first thing in the morning because it looks a little empty. But you remember on
Right.
the other side, there's 13,000 vehicles. So if you do it at the other end, it's crazy, crazy. But um, but it's one of those things that, like, for me, I tell Terry, I said, what we got to look at is keep focusing on when we get to that gate. When we get to that gate, and I got something special I want to do this year. I'm not gonna let the cat out of the bag, but I got something kind of special. But we have some fun stories. I was at Good Guys. His cat rolled up with his wife. He's like, Dino, what's up? And he says, hey, dude, we were number 3 in line at the Get Down this year. And I was like, now we load up 2,500 vehicles at a time to get in. Okay, 25, that keeps them off the street. So we have enough. We got it down. So he goes, dude, I would have been number 1. He goes, I lived on the 303, which is out west, which is, you know, not too far from the stadium. He rented a house the year before across the street from the stadium, Airbnb, so he could be the first one in line. At 1 o'clock in the morning, his wife was taking a shower, and he goes, hurry up, hurry up. And at 1 o'clock, he lined up, and he was the 3rd guy in line. And dude,
That's crazy.
I love cars. I don't know if I love them that much, right?
Right.
You know, it was one of those things that it was just super legit to hear these stories. Or like you said, people working hard to get their car, truck to the event. And for me, I was that same cat. I mean, I would tell you that we fed everybody, even at Big Surf. That was the last year that, you know, we were trying to keep this whole thing where we fed everybody. One
It's
year,
a lot.
my brother made 3,800 meatball sandwiches.
That's a lot, man. It's so much, but it's like it's those little things that make the difference. And the problem is with an event like this, it's like, and you know, the funny thing is, I would, if I had to bet, because you started yours for the same reasons that I started mine. I would bet you're still even wrecked before going, I hope they show up.
Oh, dude, listen, tell me, there's a lot of oh my gods and some what ifs and all that kind of stuff, right? So you always,
Yeah.
you always want to make sure that you're like, man, I hope everybody shows up or whatever. And then you start watching IG, and the truth is, like, I like to have a coalition of car friends. So like when your event comes up, you send it. I have a pretty good social media base. Uh,
Yeah.
and I like, even though it's on the Chevy page, I do what I want. I post that stuff up. So everybody, like, we're posting up the dub stuff. I want to post up all that stuff. So everybody, like, even, LST, all those guys, we make sure we reach out to those guys and let people know that we support them. When it's their week, I try not to do a bunch of stuff on the Chevy only stuff. I want to
Right.
support guys. And you know what? I get a phone call back. Lonnie will hit me back. Hey man, have a good show. Or, I'll text, Brian or Blue over there at the Fall Revival, which is a show that I'm blessed because they kind of took our blueprint. He talked to me about it, and they're doing it over there, and they're having a ridiculously fun show. They raised like $100,000.
Wow.
It's a free show like ours, but I think they take a donation, to get in, and they raised like 100 G's, and they donated it all
Wow.
to a really cool foundation. But he's that guy that, or Terry at C10s in the Park, where all these guys have been to our event, take a little something from it and make it their own. And we're seeing that now where, man, I don't know, there's shows going on all over the place that have a little bit of our flavor. And if they called me, I'll support it. I'll talk to them, all this other junk. Because, I want to see everybody do well, right? So it's kind
Yeah.
of things that the truth is, listen, trust me, I get a lot of, hey, will you sponsor me? But I'm like, you don't understand.
I'm just an appliance guy, man. Calm
You gonna
down.
fix your washer? I mean, I'm like, yeah, oh, shit, dude.
You got an
Whatever.
85. You got an 85 Maytag. I got extra belts for that bad boy.
I'm like, yeah, well, let me tell you, But anyway, so the truth is, to keep this stuff, and enjoy, and to keep it vibrant, like I think it's fun that there's takers in our industry, like man, I stopped worrying about the numbers, even though I've had a guy that has given me some warning shots about, yeah, you exaggerate your numbers. Well, I go, look, man, all you gotta do is come down and click it off yourself. I don't care. I don't really
Right.
care. Once you get over 5,000 vehicles, what do I care? And the truth is, I never have
Right.
cared. But
It's not about the numbers, it's about the experience, man. And the difference is that's what people remember. So listen, kudos to you for that show. But real quick, I wanted to chat with you for 1 second about it looks like there's a problem you have. And is this your spot here?
yeah, and now it's full. I haven't got it. So I took that blue lift right there.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
you look at there's an earlier, just a week ago, new Instagram post, and you'll see it's even fuller, which is crazy. But yeah, that's my son's Blazer up on top. That's my 90 OBS truck that was bought new and then got put to
Now,
sleep.
now the OBS truck with the two-tone paint job, that's an original truck from back in the day.
That is a Boyd Coddington truck from the
Really?
dealer over in California. My father-in-law bought that, and I had a Suburban that I painted. It wasn't white and black at the time; it was just white, but it had the fans on it. At that time, they were whopping 17s. Of course, they were when Boyd was making like a one-piece wheel, right? And
Right.
yeah, that's the newest picture. That's that 63 right there that we're going
Yeah.
to do. But those tri fans. So that truck on the white truck only has 51,000 miles. And I told my father-in-law, I said, hey, dude, if you ever get rid of that truck, I want that truck. And I had this Terry, and I was gonna, and he put it in his backyard, put it to sleep for about 19 years, and then called me one day. And then, of course, it was that year that all the paint blew off it. Excuse me. So I went and got it, and then I painted it in the garage, and I pulled it all apart, and some other friends have worked on it now. It's all 4-link suspension from Travis over Pro Performance, and all the React stuff. But I called Chris over at Boys, and that was one of the few wheels when he started making the retro wheel in a 20 and 22, and I
And
was
he had it.
No, he made them for me. So
Oh, did he?
yeah, so it was first of all, that dude is such a clutch guy. He's a super cool dude. I love the fact that he'll come out to our event. It's kind of crazy. Like his dad was a big deal to me,
Yeah.
and he loves, he loved his dad a lot, and his dad was an innovator and all that kind of junk. So, but that was from a dealer option. So they had the little baby mirrors on it, and of course it had the smooth bumper, and a billet grill and all this other junk. So it was cool.
Yeah, no, I actually met them down at because I think him and Ecesian Wheels are like right next door to each other. And on my Riviera, I have some Bosey forged because I'm the Greek guy.
Wow, dude, I haven't heard that wheel for a while.
I'm the Greek guy that buys a 65 Riviera to do a pro touring style car, and it's the worst car to do pro touring because no one makes anything for it. So
Nothing.
and so, I bagged the car recently because it was static forever, and I bagged it, and I had 20 by 10s in the rear, 18/8s in the front, and I had to take the wheels down to Ken at Ecesian, and he cut them down, and I got to meet Coddington. I got to meet him down there, and those dudes they're all just super cool guys, man, just real legit guys to meet. And it's funny because every time I bring up, I'm a Volkswagen guy, they're all like, "Oh yeah, I had a Volkswagen. We all had Volkswagens." You know what I mean? So
Yeah, man.
it's funny how most people think the scene is like super segmented, but really we're all just car guys that just love love the whole thing, man. And so it's like listen, if I could have it my way, I would have a single cab dually, Cummins powered, two-wheel drive, laid out, or either single cab or crew cab, and have that be my tow rig for my for my
Yeah,
Volkswagens.
dude. Listen, I would too. Like, man, listen, everybody loves the sound of a Cummins, especially that doesn't have, just has a straight pipe on it. It might blow
Yeah.
some smoke, who cares? But those are all. And what's crazy is that this year we were lucky. The Kindiggett family came to the event, and true, Kevin, true car guys, and he's a huge Volkswagen guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the stuff that he builds, and of course, for me, that's another one of those aha moments when guys that are just passionate, like down to earth dudes, like, no, oh yeah, you're on TV and you're do all that stuff. They were so legit with us, and we were so blessed to have those guys out, and they just had a good old time, man. The truth was, I hope they come back this year if it fits in their schedule. They are a monster. They got a lot going on. But like I said, I've seen the cars that he builds, and of course he's a huge Volkswagen dude. So
Oh yeah, we've had Dave Kindig's been on the podcast, man. Like I said, if I can find some VW history in your past, we're dragging on the podcast because
that's
I
rad.
love,
Well,
you know,
I'm humbled by being honest. And I kid you not, but I mean, the truth is, like, even though like I'll catch a little heat about, I thought you're the Chevy only guy. I go, listen, man, if I gotta make air cool only, I'll do that too. Cause I've thought a lot about, like, the thing about it is people ask me, hey, could you do a Volkswagen show? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know anybody in the industry like I know in the
right,
truck industry. And the truth is, we're lucky because everybody's doing a good job with the Volkswagen show. So there's no real need for it for me. But at the
right.
same time, I definitely want to support 100% of, like, I'm excited about, like, I definitely want to come out and catch up. Dude, I'm
You
going to
got
be,
to come. You got to
hey,
come to
dude, I'm
Vegas in
you
October.
watch, can I get off this? I'm going to be looking you up. I'm going to be looking, I'm going to get a lot smarter about this whole thing. And it's funny
I'm
because
telling
I
you.
talked to a lot of friends of mine that said they were going to be on here. And Seth, Seth over at Switch, his brother Scott works for me. He's a big Volkswagen guy. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, that he's got a grip on this. And I had no idea that 340 podcasts. I've been on a lot of podcasts. I've been lucky, and I talk and I'm passionate about all this junk. But it's neat because you've done I've never had anybody pull up this cool stuff like you did, man. That's cool,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
So
listen, I do my part to try to bring good content to the people that are in the hobby because again, my buddy Ryan Corno, man, he's up in the Pacific Northwest. He's got another place down in Arizona, and he's a VW C10. He's a VW Chevy guy. His dad's got an old Boyd OBS. Like he's
mhm.
got so many people. We have this common thread because I'll put a post. I think I put a post on my Bill T Vegas Instagram when I was at the Get Down. They're like, "What? You're down at the Get Down? I was down there too." Like all these guys are coming out of the closet, like, "I was there too, man." I said, "But
It was
it's
funny. I'm trying to remember, and of course I got probably, I got a little bit of a, is it Mark, the guy that brought the single cab out to our show with the double cab out, the tan
yeah,
double?
that's Mark. Yeah, he took
Mark,
best
yeah.
to show at our event. Yeah,
First of all, dude, another legit dude. Like,
yeah,
honestly, like family, like right away, just that same vibe you put out.
yeah,
Like, I told Mark, I said, dude, like, the family part of this is like, just like Dell. When I met Dell, they stayed at my house. It'd be one
yeah,
of those things that if he came out, I'd be like, dude, just leave your car. I had a lot of cars in our backyard from people at the Get Down and stuff like that couldn't bring them back or whatever. And that's just that family part of where you're like, I got you, man. Let me, and I've had lots of people do the same thing for me. Like, I have friends that will call me and say, hey, matter of fact, I just had a El Camino in my backyard for Triple Crown for Case.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
hey, it was over the holiday. The shipper, I go, just have them drop it here. Then the dude that came out was a huge Volkswagen dude also from Northern California. And we chopped it up for a minute about all that junk. And so
yeah,
um, you just never know, how this all works out with everybody, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
but Mark was another guy. Like, I met him at the Roaster show, And he was just such a cool cat. I was like, you got to come out. He's like, well, it's a single cat. I mean, it's a Volkswagen. I said, man, I don't care. He goes, are you going to bring yours? I said, no, it's not because I didn't want to. I just been trying to. Well, first of all, I got to move. I already bring
It's
out like
too much.
cars.
Yeah, you're bringing 4 trailers already. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, but I mean, it was so much fun that he came out and got a chance to catch up. And then, of course, he met my friend Eddie Money and another friendship. So these are all about these connections of all these dudes that we get to
Yeah.
meet. That I've never seen anybody so cordial than the car people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's great, man, and I've loved getting you on here and get to talk about the whole thing and the convergence of the hobbies. Like how it all comes together. Because ultimately, when we're all at the SEMA show, we're all a bunch of eyes bulging out of our head, looking,
Yeah, yeah, man.
looking at, trying to stop the sensory overload from happening. So I definitely think it's cool, and I'm glad I'm able to get you on here and talk about the Get Down, talk about your VW history. Now, do you have a date? You got the date set up for? Do you do it every third? Is it every third weekend in November?
That's yum yum. That, by the way, just had a poke for some reason. Yeah, it's going to be the 13th and 14th, right, Beck? Yeah, and so we always have it the week. I always have these. These are my Rocky Balboa moments, like I invented this crap. But
Right.
I try to do it the week after SEMA because the idea was when I first did it was I could attract people that came from SEMA across the country to have a little bit of a trifecta. Come out to some weird cat dude's place with this hot chick, set up there, and then go to Good Guys, right? So you could hit 3 shows, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of how I did it. And as Good Guys has changed directions, whatever they're doing, blah, blah, blah. So now we get a lot of traffic from SEMA, and we'll keep cars. I set it up with a lot of different people that we can keep trucks and trailers. That's how we can, that's how Dave and those guys came out. They were out for SEMA, and God, I hope they go back next year and come back again, because that was clutch for us. But so I just make it conducive so it's a good business deal for everybody, right? So
yeah,
13th, 14th, and then Thursday setup, and that's Terry. What? Hang on a second. Where'd you go? That's Terry, and she can hardly wait. She can hardly wait.
My wife, if there was ever she tells me all the time, you should do one more thing. You should probably do one more thing, Bill, because you not only you run your own business, but you do this podcast, and now you do a VW show. She's like, I said, I think I might try to start playing guitar. She goes, sure, why not? Fill up another 5 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Poor Terry, like I said, she's like, I got to get into your phone. What are we doing? I go, yeah, I got this whole month all mapped. And she's like, what? And so all this other stuff. So first of all, like, she's the best partner ever.
That's it.
On that part of it, where and she's like, when do we get to rest? And I'm like, I don't know, man, this is fun, blah blah blah. In the summertime, and we moved right in the middle of the Get Down this year.
We moved,
I told you, from the house that we had forever. So, and in 90 days, I mean, we poured concrete, we did all this other stuff, because like for me, I have a lot of patience about a lot of stuff, but I like to get a lot done every day.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, like you with your own business and all that stuff, your mind is just going 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So
just get up earlier.
Yeah, I do. I'm early.
That's what I'm teaching my son. That's what I say. Listen, man, if you come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody here to bother you for a good at least an hour. You get more done in that hour than you will the next 4.
100%. 100%.
So. Well, Dino, man, it's been awesome having you on, man. I'm looking forward to coming out and seeing you. I'm actually going to be in Arizona the weekend of the 17th and be stopping out there. So I'll hit you up.
Come over. Let's catch up, dude, for sure. And I don't mean just, blah, 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 lip service. You need to come by.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be, headed.
Just got to knock on the door so I can put some clothes on.
That's it.
Well, that's actually scary. But anyways, the truth is, I would love to have you come over, just hang out, dude. It'd be cool to vibe with that stuff, man. I mean,
for sure. No, I love it, man. And so people want to follow you. Your Instagram obviously has 68,000 followers. So it's Dinos Chevy only. Those of VW guys that may not be crossing over to the Chevy world, but it's super rad. Probably it's the fastest growing car event that is no cost to the participant and you get nothing but love when you walk in the door. So that's got to stand for something, right? And it's a great time. If you haven't been there, you got to get there. I'm looking forward to seeing you at One Crazy Weekend, and I'll hit you up with some details about One Crazy Weekend this year, because that's
Oh,
always the first.
I definitely want to be part of that. That would be a great vibe. I don't know about the bowling part. I play a sport called baseball. Somebody else
Yeah.
gets the ball, so like I don't know, but I could probably throw that ball pretty hard.
Well,
Just
listen, the poker tournament's a good time.
eh?
And it's you listen, because I had a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't play poker." I said that's the best part, because you're looking at a dealer talking to 8 people at the table, explaining to them what they need to do next, and it's just and it's like I think it was $50 to enter the poker tournament, and you got $12,000 in chips, and the grand prize was from Right Gearbox, and it was a fully built transaxle, and so it's just a great time. The best part is the cars are on display out in front of the hotel,
Oh, I'm
and they're
digging that.
all,
I'm super digging that. Like I said,
dude.
I'm going to do some research on you, dude. I, I underestimated. I don't mean to say that
No, no,
toward
no. I'll
just
send you
kind of
some
pithy,
stuff.
but yeah, dude, we definitely got to catch up. And you're a bad mother. And congratulations. Excuse me.
Hey,
You've done an amazing job with all this.
no, listen, man. One day, if I'm excited to have 400 cars, if I get 10,000, what'd you guys have at the last Get Down? What'd you have? You had
Listen, and this is the truth, and this hurts people's feelings, but I'm sorry, but we had over 13,000 vehicles.
That's
Here's the
incredible.
reason why I can tell you that. Because it's a sports event that has cameras in every post, and they
Hmm.
digitally enhance, and they just count spaces. So
Right.
there's 14,000 spaces on one side and 5 on the other. Okay, so that's 16,000 spaces. We soak up 3,000 spaces or 3,500 spaces for vendors.
Yeah.
So and look, man, I don't really care. Do we have 12? I don't 8, 9. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. It doesn't. What my point is, it's something that started organic, and it started because you love the
Mhm.
hobby, and that's why it's grown like it's grown. It's never been about the money. It's always been about the hang, and the guys getting together, and just be, and the fact that you could get, because the hardest thing in the world is us as enthusiasts to talk to vendors and get them to wake up and come to the
Mhm.
event. That, like, you'll spend $50,000 to go to SEMA show, and you can't sell one thing, but you
Yeah.
could come to the Get Down and rack up more sales in a single day than you can in a month on your website. You know what I
And
mean?
we've
So
had people tell us the same thing. We gave 100 grand worth of engines away for free this year. Like,
that's
look, man,
insane.
I'll tell you the truth. Bill, I love money. Everybody
Yeah.
does. Okay. And ask Terry, I spend it like, no, I spend it like crazy. But the truth is, I don't need it to run our event. Like,
Right.
I don't need like we started it this way and we're going to finish it this way. And people are like, just charge this. I go, look, man, we have a blueprint, we have a script, we're going to follow it, and that's how it's going to go. And so far, like I said, every year we just keep tackling those things and figuring it out and all that kind of stuff. And the truth is, the heavy lifter in this one's Terry. I mean, she brings
Yeah.
in 250 vendors in one day, and we put up 3,400 cones because the venue, we can't even touch the parking lot with chalk. So she came
Yeah.
up with the concept. She's a bookkeeper by trade and a bodybuilder by, she's a pro. Anyways, so, and she's won everything in that. But anyway, so she just only knows how to win. So for her, you give her a task, and she
Yeah.
just after it. So as a partner, she's awesome, and she puts me in my place all the time. As far as like if she thinks I'm sassy, she'd be like, "Listen, I'll jack you up." But
That's good. That's good, man. It's one of the keys to your success, right? Because you're just squirrel brain going 100 miles an hour. We'll do this, add
yeah,
that, do this, and you got to have somebody with some reason standing behind it going, okay,
yeah,
if you want to do that, you got to do this, and you got to. So it's a
she
perfect
definitely pulls the
combo.
shoot. She'll pull the shoot on me all the time. I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. But I like those conceptual things, and then she kind of just, it's cool. Like it's the yin and the yang corner kind of corny, but the truth is, I do like to, we spitball a lot of stuff where we're like da 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 da, like we're thinking of something that we want to do. The hard part is to keep me from talking about it and telling people.
Right.
I
Yeah.
cannot keep a secret. I can't even get her a Christmas gift without giving it to her 5 days early.
Right. No, That's awesome, man. Well, listen, I've loved having you on the podcast. I look forward to
I dig
seeing
it,
you
man.
this next year, one crazy weekend. I'll be in touch with you on that because I'll send you a message on your phone and we'll chat back and forth
Yeah,
about
I'm
that. Because
super stoked. I'm super stoked. And first of all, I got your cell number, so that's super good. So
yeah,
at the same time, dude, we could chop it up anytime and it could be about any kind of junk. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
you got it. I love it. I appreciate both of you for all you guys do for the car hobby because it just makes there's going to be guys 10 years from now saying, "Oh yeah, I remember the good old days when things just started out, you know, and then their first get down was 2025." You know what I mean? And they're reminiscent to like
Yeah, man.
the experience that they had when they went to an event where they didn't feel like they were just somebody to show up and give someone $40. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
kudos to you for that, man. And
Respect.
I'll reach out to you for sure when I'm down in Phoenix next. All right,
Do
brother.
do that. And if you fly in, I'll get you something to drive. I got some cool shit.
Listen, bro, I'm driving that OBS. No, I'm just kidding.
Now you're done. Hey, come roll, man. It's cool. You dig it. It's got a big old
Love it.
stereo. It's got 315s in the back.
Oh, see, that's
Oh,
perfect, man.
yeah, dude, it's stupid.
That's the recipe.
I'm a little brain damaged, dude. I must be 13 still. So, and my son's car's got 315s in the back. It's fun. I
I
told him,
love it.
I forgot who said it. They go, hey, the 80s called. They want their stereo box back.
That's it. That's it. Well,
I dig it, man.
cool,
It's
man. Well,
all right,
Dino,
buddy.
man, I appreciate you, brother. And this comes out tomorrow, man. So we'll hit you up and I'll wrap with you when I'm out there.
And it's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube and it'll be on Apple Podcasts and everywhere you download your podcasts.
I
Yep.
got you. You're rad, dude. Again, thank you, man. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
no problem. Have a good one.
Talk to you.
All right.